If there's one thing the football analytics crowd absolutely despises, it's what they've come to call the cowardly punt. And no, that's not just a clever nickname. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when a head coach, usually someone with a few gray hairs and a couple decades in the league, decides to punt the ball in a moment where going for it on fourth down is statistically the smarter play. It's the football version of playing not to lose. It's conservative, it's outdated, and to the numbers people, it's borderline offensive. Now, we're not just talking about Mike Tomlin here. He's just the latest example, but he's far from the only one. This is a widespread phenomenon across the NFL, especially among veteran coaches who seem to rely more on gut feelings and traditional game management instincts than on the treasure trove of data that's available today. The new school guys, the ones raised on analytics, or at least willing to embrace them, are increasingly asking, why are we punting at all? They look at the numbers and realize that in many cases, punting is practically giving up. Of course, the league isn't ready to completely flip the script just yet. We're not at a point where NFL teams are ditching punters entirely like some progressive college programs have flirted with. Every team in the NFL still carries a punter. Every Sunday, on fourth and short, you'll still see that special teams unit jog onto the field to willingly hand over possession and momentum to the opponent. And here's the thing, it drives the analytics community absolutely crazy. These aren't just feelings or hunches anymore. We're way past the I've been around the game long enough to know when to punt era. We're in the age of big data. We're talking about real analysis, drawn from thousands of in-game scenarios, plugged into models that simulate outcomes and spit out the percentage chance of success or failure. And when you choose to punt in situations where the odds say you shouldn't, you're not being careful. You're being cowardly. Enter one of the analytics community's favorite tools, the surrender index. It's a hilarious and brutally honest metric that ranks punts based on how cowardly they are. And no, it's not curated by some angry blogger. It's automated. A robot essentially monitors every punt across the NFL and assigns a numerical score to determine just how egregiously passive the decision was. And that robot, folks, had a field day with what happened in Pittsburgh. Let's set the stage. The Steelers were tied with the Seahawks, 14-14, late in the third quarter. The ball was at the Pittsburgh 48-yard line. It was 4th and 1. Momentum? Up for grabs. The moment? Screaming for a bold decision. And yet, Mike Tomlin sent out the punting unit. Just like that. And according to the surrender index, this particular punt earned a 6.48 rating, putting it in the 91st percentile of cowardly punts in the entire 2025 season. Not only that, it ranked in the 88th percentile of all punts tracked since 1999. Let that sink in. That's not just a questionable call. That's historically conservative. That's turning your back on a chance to win in order to not lose. That's the cowardly punt in its purest form. Now, of course, Tomlin was asked about the decision after the game, and his response was, well, let's just say it didn't help. He pointed to the score being tied, to both offenses struggling, and to his desire to protect a defense that had taken some hits. On the surface, sure, maybe that sounds reasonable. But once you peel back the layers, it's full of holes. First of all, 4th and 1 should be an automatic go in today's NFL, especially when you're on your own 48, which is practically midfield. If you fail, sure, you give them decent field position, but your defense is still on the field either way, and you're showing faith in your team to make a stand. If you convert, you're 1 or 2 plays away from field goal range, maybe even a touchdown drive. You shift the momentum. You take control. Tomlin's reasoning that the offense wasn't lighting it up doesn't hold water either. You don't need an explosive offense to gain a single yard. That's not a question of play design. It's a question of will. And here's the kicker. While other teams have embraced the quarterback sneak or the so-called tush-push, the Steelers have stayed away from it entirely. No attempts in practice, no looks in training camp, nothing. The only time this franchise has even been associated with the tush-push is when they try to get it banned. That's not just conservative. That's resistant to innovation. The irony? Tomlin has built his entire public persona around the idea of not living in his fears. He repeats that phrase constantly. But this decision, this was fear in action. And it wasn't just this one moment. That punt is symbolic of a larger issue with this team right now. A team that's allegedly in win-now mode, bringing in veterans, trying to make one last push, and yet when the moment comes to take a calculated risk, they fold. It's not just about the punt. It's about the identity, or rather the lack thereof. It's about a team that seems afraid to define itself. Offensively, how many deep shots has Aaron Rodgers taken? You think he doesn't want to let it rip downfield? Of course he does. But when the protection breaks down constantly and the offensive line can't hold a block for more than 2 seconds, the entire playbook shrinks. The creativity dries up. The explosiveness disappears. And again, nothing changes. No adjustments on the line. No personnel switches. No signs of urgency. Defensively, it's more of the same. Playing it safe. Avoiding the blitz. Letting the opposing offense dictate the tempo instead of forcing the issue. This team isn't playing like one that wants a bite. It's playing like one that's hoping not to get bitten. And that passive mindset trickles down into every aspect of the game. You can see it in how the players carry themselves. There's this energy, this quiet, controlled, overly disciplined vibe that sucks the life out of the locker room. And don't mistake this for professionalism. It's not about being calm under pressure. It's about being scared of making a mistake. That's the difference between playing with swagger and playing with fear. And the Steelers, right now, are playing scared. So when fans and media start to question if this team is just talk, if they're more flash than substance, you can understand where that frustration is coming from. And no, it's not just bro media stirring things up. It's what we're watching on the field. It's the complete disconnect between what the team says it wants to be and what it actually is. And the thing is, the locker room isn't even the problem. These guys aren't out there doing weekly hype videos or talking trash to the media. In fact, outside of a few confident remarks during training camp, this team has been relatively quiet, which makes the lack of substance even more glaring. Because if it's not empty bravado that's the issue, then it's something deeper. A structural problem, a coaching problem, a philosophy problem. And that's really where things start to unravel, not just tactically, but culturally. The Pittsburgh Steelers used to be a team that opponents feared. They carried an aura, a presence. That wasn't something you could measure with stats or analytics. It was a real psychological edge that came from decades of playing smash-mouth football, from never backing down, from being the aggressor. Now it feels like that edge is gone. The league has moved forward, and the Steelers, somehow, have become one of the teams being left behind. This is what makes the cowardly punt more than just a footnote. It becomes a symbol of something bigger. It represents hesitation. It represents an unwillingness to adapt. It's the physical embodiment of a team that's holding itself back while pretending to charge forward. A team with big names, with proven veterans, with guys who have made real plays in this league, and yet, when it comes time to press the gas, they're tapping the brakes. You cannot play elite-level football with one foot out the door. You can't win in this league by trying not to lose. And that's exactly the feeling the Steelers are giving off right now. Whether it's the lack of offensive rhythm, the refusal to take deep shots, the hyper-conservative play calling, or the lack of boldness on fourth downs, it all adds up to the same thing. Timid football. And in today's NFL, timid football loses. Now let's talk about identity, because that's what this team is missing the most. What are the Steelers right now? Are they a ground-and-pound run team? Are they a high-flying spread offense? Are they a blitz-heavy defense with a physical edge? Are they a bend-but-don't-break unit? No one knows. Not even them, it seems. And that's the issue. You cannot fake identity. You cannot force it. You have to build it, commit to it, live it. And when you're punting from the opponent's side of the field in a tied game, what you're building is fear. What you're committing to is safety. And what you're living is mediocrity. It's not that they don't have the tools. The Steelers have talent. They have a quarterback who still has the arm to make throws most guys can't. They've got playmakers at wide receiver. They've got young pieces on defense who are hungry and explosive. But when the coaching staff wraps that talent in caution tape, when they play to avoid mistakes instead of forcing opponents into them, it neutralizes everything. You can see on both sides of the ball. Offensively, the playbook looks like it's stuck in a loop from 5 years ago. It's too vanilla, too predictable. Defenses aren't being stretched. They're not being challenged. And the few times the Steelers try to push the ball, it's telegraphed, it's slow developing, and it falls apart because the protection just isn't there. And again, no adjustments. No shakeups on the offensive line. No creative schemes to buy time. Just more of the same, and the same is not working. Defensively, it's a strange mix of caution and over-reliance on a handful of stars. There's no consistent pass rush outside of a few splash plays. There's no real plan to create turnovers or confuse quarterbacks. And maybe worst of all, there's no bite. This team used to hit you in the mouth. Now they're content to let you dink and dunk your way down the field, hoping you make a mistake before they do. That's not Pittsburgh football. That's survival football. That's hoping to get lucky. And the fans feel it. You can hear it in the stadium. The energy dips. The frustration builds. It's not just about losing games. It's about losing belief. Steelers fans are some of the most passionate and loyal in all of sports. But what they demand, above all else, is effort, identity, heart. And right now, they're not getting it. What they're seeing instead is a team that's trying to talk itself into being something it's not. Remember that phrase, not living in our fears? That was supposed to define this era. But week after week, game after game, the evidence suggests otherwise. Living in fear is exactly what they're doing. They're coaching not to be embarrassed, playing not to be exposed, making decisions based on what they're afraid might happen instead of what they want to make happen. And the most frustrating part? They're wasting windows. Players don't stay in their prime forever. Veteran contracts don't last forever. You only get so many shots to truly go for it. And yet, when the moment comes, when it's 4th and 1 and the whole season is on the line, you punt. You give the ball away. You say, let's hope for the best. That's not strategy. That's surrender. You see, it's easy to talk about grit and toughness. It's easy to lean on tradition and history. But the NFL doesn't care what you used to be. It only cares about what you are right now. And right now, the Steelers are a team stuck in limbo. Not bad enough to blow it all up. Not good enough to make a real run. Just stuck. And the longer they stay in this middle ground, the harder it will be to dig their way out. Even opposing coaches know this. Look at what the Seahawks did. They prepared for the renegade moment, something that's supposed to energize the Steelers and intimidate visitors. And they laughed it off. They turned it into a celebration. That doesn't happen to feared teams. That doesn't happen to teams with bite. That happens when teams sense hesitation, when they know you're not fully committed. And that's what this Steelers team is showing. So where do they go from here? That's the question. Do they continue down this path of cautious football, hoping that somehow it starts working? Or do they make a hard turn, embrace the modern game, and finally start trusting their talent? Because the clock is ticking, and the more they hold back, the more likely it is that this core, this roster, never lives up to its potential. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are turning into full-blown chatter in the NFL world as rumors swirl that the Pittsburgh Steelers are plotting a seismic shakeup of their roster. According to sources close to the organization, the Steelers could be on the verge of landing two of the league's most electric wide receivers, TYREEK Hill and Terry McLAURIN. If true, this would mark one of the boldest defensive moves in recent memory, instantly catapulting Pittsburgh into the conversation as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. The mere idea of Hill and McLaurin sharing the same field in black and gold has sent fans into a frenzy. Hill, renowned for his breakneck speed and game-changing deep threats, would bring a dimension the Steelers haven't seen since the days of prime Antonio Brown. Meanwhile, McLaurin's route precision and fearless catching ability make him a nightmare matchup for any defensive back. Together, they could form an offense so potent that opposing teams might feel powerless just trying to keep up. Speculation suggests that the Steelers' front office has been quietly maneuvering to make this dream duo a reality. Sources hint at intricate trade discussions and cap maneuvers designed to accommodate the salaries of two of the league's top-tier talents. If the deals go through, quarterback Kenny Pickett would suddenly find himself with arguably the deadliest receiving core in the NFL, an enviable luxury that could redefine his career trajectory. Social media has exploded with reactionary posts, fan graphics, and even mock depth charts imagining the dynamic possibilities. Analysts are divided, though most agree that pulling off a double acquisition of this magnitude would be unprecedented and risky. But if successful, the Steelers' offense could become virtually unstoppable. Coaches and executives are reportedly weighing the long-term implications, but the allure of pairing Hill's speed with McLaurin's polished skill set seems almost impossible to resist. For now, it's all speculation, but the buzz is undeniable. The thought of the Steelers' offense lighting up stadiums from Pittsburgh to primetime broadcasts nationwide has become a tantalizing what-if that fans can't stop discussing. If even half of this rumor materializes, the Steelers might be looking at the start of a new, electrifying era. Could Pittsburgh really be on the verge of unveiling the most fearsome receiving duo in NFL history? Only time will tell, but the rumor mill is spinning faster than TYREEK Hill in full stride. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.